really drives key.
That I felt like I needed, and I was comfortable in that space of just being God.
Hope is offensive. Hope is desperate.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Jumpstart Your Vision with Coach Karen Hilton. I am Coach Karen Hilton, and y'all, I need coffee this morning. I don't know about y'all, but I barely have this lash on right here. I'm stumbling out of bed this morning. Please, somebody tell me I am not the only one. If you are new here, I promise I'm going to seriously trip you up because I'm not in my right mind this morning. Come on in here. We got a lot to talk about, y'all, this topic this morning. I'm telling you, y'all start praying right now because this particular topic, do I have to act like a lady? Welcome to Women's History Month, by the way. It's March and it's Women's History Month. And so I just felt like, you know what? If I'm going to step on into it, let's just do it like all the way. So here I am. Good morning to everybody. If you are here joining us for the first time, I am Coach Karen Hilton, and this beautiful place that we assemble every Monday morning at 8:15 in the morning is called Rock Your Vision. This is our place where we come to find out all of the things, to meet the people, to learn the strategies, to connect with each other, and to really understand, like, what is this thing about that we call leadership? I'm going to ask you to do something that I think is really important, and that is share this with 75 of your friends, okay? Just hit the share button and share it. Let's get people talking about this topic. I promise I'm going to get in trouble, and y'all just pray for me. And if you are on the nasty gram train, just keep it to yourself because I'm not paying attention to any of that. Neither is Coach John Kowaleski, who's in the background. He's doing the thing from, John, are you in West Virginia? Where are you? I think you're in West Virginia. Anyway, wherever he is, he's our executive technical producer, and we have a lot of fun together. We get in trouble. He's my twin. I call him my twin. And yep, he's in West Virginia. And so I am super excited to talk about this topic. We always do kind of an after show and talk about, like, Karen, did you put your foot in it? Or was it really good? Or what were people talking about? I can't wait. I can't wait. So y'all come on in here. In addition to that, let's see, who else do we have in here? Hey, y'all, good morning. Let's see, Amanda Bowen is in here. Whoop, whoop. Amanda is on our team. She is new to our team, but I feel like we've been friends for a lifetime. She is so wicked smart. One of these days, I'm going to have to introduce you to her. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Amanda, I hope you're game for coming on the show and telling us a little bit about your vision. Hold on one second. Christy Kent, one of our OGs. What's up, Christy? I can't wait for y'all to meet Christy. Guys, we've got something coming up in May we're going to tell you about. But I'm going to have Christy and her beautiful, gorgeous daughter come in here and tell us all about it. So we've got something coming up in May we're pretty excited about. Denise Evans is here. Yay. Denise Evans Simpkins. Excuse me. Let me get it right. Hey, girl. I am so excited you're in here. I cannot wait to spend a little time with you. We need to catch up. Okay. I'm just saying. Anyway, Amanda says, uh-oh. That's the problem with, I may call on you. I'm just saying. All right. Well, today we're talking about it. Let's see. What are the things that we've got going on? If you haven't heard already, we launched Vision Casters Academy. To all of you who are jumping into that, this is our monthly membership. We are really, really excited about Vision Casters Academy. It has been probably 3 years in the making, and it's a monthly opportunity to go deep on the topics that matter most to you when it comes to rocking your vision. And I don't mean just kicking off the year and having a party. I mean actually making progress on your own terms. If that's something that you're interested in, we are keeping Vision Casters Academy registration open because there are so many people who did not have an opportunity to get in. So we had a couple of people join recently. So come on in here, Vision Casters Academy. John just put it in the comments. Join us in there. We would love to have you. This month, we're talking about the power of knowing your own story. For those of you who are in, you will see your resources drop inside of your membership today. And I cannot wait for you to tackle this challenge. Then every single month, we have office hours. So you're able to submit questions and participate in a discussion. Can you think about a time when you've wanted to ask a question? Like, I wonder about this, or I am really struggling with this, but I don't have anybody to ask, or I'd love to have a discussion about what other people are experiencing. That's exactly what Vision Casters Academy is all about. So don't miss out. Click the link in the comments and get in there and join us. It's an incredible discussion with other vision-driven leaders, entrepreneurs, and the mission-minded. So we've got that going on. If you missed the Biz to Brand membership, this is the legal template membership and community with Amber Galormo. I am so sorry you missed out on that, but go and follow Amber. She's got some incredible resources available to you. And within that membership, you get access to legal templates for those of you that are entrepreneurs. And you get the community, the discussions. We were having a discussion the other day about AI, artificial intelligence, and just talking about some of the trends and what's important and what we can do and what we can't do. And when you see what she is offering this membership for, I mean, it was a no-brainer for me last year. Anyway, go and follow her because she's going to open it back up again in a couple of months as of a few days ago when we were chatting about it. So make sure to do that. As well. Let's see, what else do I have going on in here that we need to talk about? Okay, so how was your weekend? What was the big thing in your weekend? I have to know while I go in here and just check one more time to see who's in here, and then we're getting right into it. Let's see. I can't quite see, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get to talking about it. So we're talking about, do I have to act like a lady? Now, this is a great conversation about leadership for women, vision-driven leadership for women. But this isn't just for women. So if you know a man who loves a woman, I need him to be in here too, because we're going to talk about it. But before we do any of that, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, talking about this topic, you can imagine that you step into a topic like this, and the very first thing I thought about was, oh, wait a minute. This is not like it used to be. Like, you can't just talk about being a woman without worrying about who you're going to offend. Can we just go there? I should have warned you. Please grab your coffee. If you're watching us from YouTube, hey, everybody, just go ahead and grab your coffee, block your calendar, because this is going to be a little bit of a something, but we have to talk about this, you guys. First of all, it's Women's History Month. Happy Women's History Month to all of you on here to whom that applies. But we have to talk about this because there is this, it feels like it doesn't matter what you talk about these days, somebody's going to be offended. If you talk about broccoli, somebody's going to be offended. If you talk about loving hamburgers, somebody's going to be offended. Is it just me? And leave it up to me to be the one to talk about it. But I worry sometimes that in the world of vision-driven leadership, we miss the forest for the trees. And I'm okay. If I lose people, I'm not concerned about that, because in this community, I have 3 objectives: to inspire you, to encourage you, and to equip you. So before any of y'all get started about what this is supposed to mean or what you think it's supposed to mean, I'm just going to turn us to a little bit of biblical reference. And y'all know I'm a Jesus girl, so you do you. But I just want to anchor us for just a second in where I hope our minds will go. Can you just tolerate me for just a minute? 2 Timothy 2:23 and 24 says, "Do not have anything to do with foolish or stupid arguments." Okay, I just got started. Because you know that they produce quarrels. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to change your mind, to do this. I'm here to share a perspective. And I hope that something that you hear in these discussions that we do on Jumpstart will inspire you and jumpstart your week. It'll give you just a menu of things to choose from to say, you know what? This is where I'm going to land. I will let the Holy Spirit do the work in you, but I'm just sharing, okay? It goes on to say, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 23 and 24, and the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be led to everyone, able to teach, not be resentful. There you go. Anytime somebody's like trying to get into an argument with you about this, that, and the third, just point them back to that. Because listen to me, as vision-driven leaders, arguments will not get you anywhere. Arguments will exhaust you and get you off track. They will get you off track of where you are supposed to be going. Did you know that? And when it comes to stuff like this, y'all, I'm not going for it. All I want to know is, how do I show up as a vision-driven female leader? That's really where I'm going. Okay, I'm going to get off of that, but we just had to go there. Hey there. Let's see, who is in here? Deborah Glover's in here. Hey, girl. What's going on? Deborah has been on an adventure. We need to hear all about it. She's the founder of Glover and Wire. If you're not following Deborah, go and follow her at Glover and Wire on Facebook and Instagram. She's doing some incredible things. At any rate, so let's talk about it. Do I have to act like a lady? Did anybody else hear that when you were growing up? Like your mom or your auntie or somebody like that was constantly on you. Sit up straight, Karen. Don't talk like that. We don't use language like that. Ladies don't do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody? What did y'all hear? For the ladies on the chat, what did you hear when you were growing up about being a lady or acting like a lady? Anybody? Who heard that? Or what did you hear when you were coming up? I heard everything because my mother was that mom. She was dignified and classy and spoke the King's English. And her mother, my grandmother, insisted on the same thing. And, you know, I didn't really kind of get the whole frilly girl thing until I was almost 15. True story. I was not that girl. I was not that little girl who was all buttoned up and had, you know, frilly lace everywhere. That just was not my jam. So you can imagine hearing that. It felt a little strange. I remember putting on stockings that didn't fit, patent leather shoes that were cheap, and feeling like, you know, I would take them off and then run around the church or wherever I was with my family. Deborah said, she said, sit properly, sit like a lady, all of those things. We've heard all of those things. Well, fast forward to now, and some of those things are hardwired in terms of those of us that are in the workplace, or we're showing up in community events or public events or whatever. And I begin to get curious about what are the things that I heard, you know, from being a child forward that shaped how I show up. I was also curious about those things that I heard, those things that I believed, those things that I believed were true, and how they caused me to show up now. But I'm more curious about where those beliefs and mindsets held me back. All right, here's your next question. I need you to come in here and get in the chat, participate in the chat. Here's the question. How have the things that you believed about who you were as a woman, as a vision-driven leader who is female, how have the things that you've heard or believed gotten in your way? Okay, how has it gotten in your way? Remember, this is not about argument. Okay, this is not about anything other than the main thing. How has what you have believed about yourself as a woman gotten in the way? As a female, gotten in the way? Anybody? All right, I'm going to jump in the chat. Amanda says, She got handed a book of etiquette. I think your mom and my mom, like they went to the same school. Yeah, all of that. I actually went to etiquette classes. Now, no shade, because our parents were trying to prepare us to go into the world, right? Those are all good things. I remember going to a modeling workshop. Did anybody else go to those little modeling workshops? Mine was sponsored by 17 magazine and was held at our local department store. And we went and learned all the things: how to walk, how to talk, how to sit up, how to sit at a table, how to use our knife and fork. All of those things I have used, and they have served me well. Now, I'm also former pageant queen, so they've served me really well and made me some money. But anyway, my point is, no shade to any of those, but I'm curious about, what have you learned about being a female, or what did you believe about being a female that got in your way? And some of you, I know y'all got some stuff, because we've had some conversations and we want to talk about it, because I think there's this thing that we do that holds us back, but it's not necessarily what other people are saying about us. It's not necessarily what other people are doing. It's what we believe about ourselves. It's those things that are kind of embedded in how we show up. Am I preaching to myself this morning? I'm just saying, like, there have been so many things said to me, so many things put in front of me. And guess what happens when you believe something so deeply? It's so ingrained that you look at that thing and you're like, well, oh, well, that must be all there is for me. Did you know that if you train a horse, if you put a horse on a lead and you tie them around a post and you do that for a period of time, and then you take that lead off and put that horse right back at that post, that horse won't go anywhere. You know why? Because he's just accepted his limitations. I mean, I'm not comparing anybody to a horse, don't get me wrong, but my point is that you can literally become so accustomed to the barriers and the things, the beliefs, the mindsets, the expectations, that you never step outside of what it is you're supposed to do. I'm just saying. Am I talking to myself? You guys, this is so important when it comes to vision-driven leadership, because here's the thing. We've talked about this before. Vision will always call you outside of your comfort zone. But what happens if you have those limiting beliefs, those messages that say, ladies don't go into environments like that. Ladies don't challenge. Ladies don't argue, etc., etc., etc. When I was coming up, I remember looking for a briefcase because I saw my dad carrying a briefcase. Anybody? Yeah, I saw my dad carrying a briefcase and I was like, oh, that is so cool. He had one of those military grade briefcases with the great big, turn situation. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. So I went out looking for a briefcase. Y'all, I found a purple briefcase next to the other brown one and the black one, a purple briefcase. I didn't even know they made purple briefcases. So here I go going to get that purple briefcase. And guess what I heard? Oh, no. You can't do that. That won't look right. That won't look right. It's not conservative enough. Now, we're not going to get into a conversation about what conservative means, but I remember thinking to myself, that's not conservative enough. What is that? Am I conservative? Oh, I'm not supposed to get the purple briefcase. Now, we're going to talk about in a minute the benefits of appropriateness and the benefits of understanding your audience and the benefits of understanding where you are and how to have influence. But I'm just saying that sometimes the things that we believe about ourselves, the things that we believe that are limiting beliefs, can get in our way of making progress. Sometimes our limiting beliefs, or the things that appear to be obstacles or barriers, we accept too soon because we think we should. But if God is calling us to something bigger than where we are, if God is calling us to something that is beyond what everybody else says we should be doing, I mean, what's a girl to do? I don't know. I was that girl in my family who asked the questions nobody was supposed to ask. Karen, you're not supposed to ask that. I'm sure I'm the only one here, so I'm just going to take a sip of my coffee and let y'all catch up because it's been one of those mornings already. I understand. I was that girl. When I got into the workplace, I was that girl who asked the question, hey, so this thing over here, you could see the roll of the eye, right? Or whatever. That dynamic of, oh, here comes Karen. You guys, she wasn't supposed to get the invite to the meeting because she always asked the uncomfortable questions. Y'all, I am still that girl that asks those questions. And it's tempting to believe that when we experience that strain of, oh my gosh, here I go, I feel like a fish out of water. Has anybody ever said that? Like you feel like you are that person who is just the pariah. You're the weird one. The one who is pushing against whatever the standard is, whatever the status quo is. And it is tempting to believe that that's happening because you're a woman. So now we got to talk about it. You remember I said that sometimes the things that we believe about ourselves are more obstacles than anything anybody else could ever do to us. The temptation is to play the blame game. Well, they're doing that to me because I'm a woman. It's because I'm a woman. It's the male-female thing. Well, all the men, da, 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 da. Y'all need to know something up in here. I am pro guy, okay? I know there are realities in the workplace that are opportunities for us to engage and have conversations, and sometimes courageous conversations, sometimes even conversations where we are disagreeing or we're mad at each other. But the minute that you go to that place, vision-driven woman, the minute that you go to that place where there's blame and accusation and offense about who you think you are as a woman, the enemy of your soul will distract you from where you're supposed to go. It's a strategy. I'm just saying. I just want us to talk about, as vision-driven women, if you are not locked in to God's vision for your life, you will get so distracted about what people are saying about this, that, and the third. And so often society pulls us into that conversation, and it's really not even a conversation. It's an argument, right? Oh, it's because I'm a woman. It's because of this, that, and the other. Beloved, I need you to get focused. And we're going to talk about some of those ways to do that, to really amplify your ability to stay focused on what you're supposed to be doing, right? To be able to use what it is you know about yourself and how you're wired as a woman, to use it as a strategic tool, not as a weapon. If you are using who you are as a woman as a weapon, friend, let me just tell you that eventually weapons get heavy. That was good. Sometimes and eventually weapons get heavy. Just be prepared that you're okay with carrying the load. Because if you're busy carrying a load you were never meant to carry, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'm just saying. Okay, I'm going to mind my business. Amanda says, love that analogy. You're not alone. Thank you for that, Amanda. I'm glad I'm not alone. Right? This thing that we do where we get so focused on the edgy, sharp part of how we are designed. We are listening to all the conversations going around us about men versus women, or this position got handed to a man versus this position got handed to a woman. And let me just tell you, I've had questions my entire career. Karen, you're the only female in that room. Karen, you're this, you're that. How did you do that? Friend, I did not do it from a place of always being angry or upset about the dynamic. I got strategic, and instead of approaching career opportunities, new client opportunities, ministry opportunities from the perspective of what I could get out of it as a female, I got connected to what was it God wanted me to do and how was it he wanted me to do it. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Shireen Douglas, hey girl, come on in here. She said, I asked all the questions. I know. I think everybody in this community was that chick. For those of you that are female, we got a few guys in here, but for those of you that are female, I think all of y'all were at some point that woman who asked the questions, who pushed a little bit further. And did you know, as a vision-driven woman, you have to be. We've talked about this too. You cannot be that person who is discouraged by all the things, right? But what if you could have the strategies and the tools, the insights and the perspectives to be able to navigate the journey of vision-driven leadership so you feel confident, you feel energized and refreshed? That, friend, is all about what Rock Your Vision is about. Let's see. Amanda says, my dad, she's quoting her dad. She says, my dad, do as I say, not as I do, whenever I challenged him. Exactly. Do as I say and not as I do. Y'all, my dad is 94 years young. And he is still, sometimes we'll be on a phone conversation. He's still, well, I'll say something or I'll ask a question or I'll push back and he'll just shake his head and he's like, what have I done? I don't know. Maybe I'm the son that he wanted to have. I have no idea, but he got all of this. Okay. Christy says, sometimes you don't ask the question depending on your audience. So let's talk about it. Because there are some things to know when it comes to being a vision-driven female leader. Now, when we walk into environments, when I walk into an environment, I don't walk in thinking, oh, I'm the only female here. I don't walk in like waving the female banner. That right there, guys, it's a trick and a trap. Okay. If you are walking into environments with your gender or anything else on your shoulders, that is not a characteristic of vision-driven leadership. I'm going to make somebody mad and I'm sorry about it. I'll apologize now. I'm going to take another sip of coffee. Y'all take a minute. Walking around with your cause, your pain on your shoulders is not the mark of vision-driven leadership. And that's something that we have to hear. For those of us that are believers, and if you're new and you're just joining us, I want to say welcome. Hey, everybody on YouTube. But I just want to talk about the fact that if we are wearing that on our shoulders, our causes, our pains, all of those things on our shoulders all of the time, I'm not talking about, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not talking about pursuing those things that God is calling us to talk about or to do or to pursue or to build. I'm not talking about that. But what I'm saying is if everywhere we go, we carry that pain on and we put it on our shoulders and we use it as a weapon. It's like, here, I'm a woman. Let me look around and just see, are there any other women here? There are things that we need to pay attention to and there are opportunities to lead. But when it comes to coming into environments, particularly those environments where we're in mixed company, beloved, part of what we're trying to do in this community is to teach how we develop the ability to have influence, to be able to do the things God's called us to do. All right, so let's talk about it a little bit because here's another question that I got. I always go back to my coaching notes and that sort of thing to try to understand what the conversation is about when it comes to these topics that we talk about. So somebody asked the question as a vision-driven female leader, how do I then know what to develop? Where do I start? If I walk into an environment and I see things, right, that are wrong, or I'm experiencing things that feel painful, or I'm experiencing things that are actually real. Listen to me. We all know that there are environments where if you are female, you are not necessarily welcome. People are not necessarily excited to see you. And I can tell you, having been in private practice for more than 10 years and my entire career, 35 plus years in business, that I am not always appreciated. And I've gone into environments where I hear things or I see things that don't make me comfortable, right? I was in an executive leadership meeting. This was years ago. I was in an executive leadership meeting and somebody told a joke. We were sitting around the table waiting for our president to come in, who was also male. I was the only female. And so they were sitting around getting their, coffee and all that sort of thing. And somebody told an inappropriate joke. Like it was seriously off color. And suddenly somebody realized I was in the room. And they said, "Dude, Karen's in the room." Has anybody had that happen? You don't have to say any names. You don't have to identify any companies. I just want to understand, am I by myself on this? Has that ever happened to you? Put an emoji in the chat if you have ever been in an environment where somebody says something and it's a little south of what you feel comfortable with. Yep. Amanda's like, wow. Shireen's like, yes. Like, come on. I can't tell you the things that I have heard, the things that I have seen in mixed company, out in the open. A client told me recently, like as in last week, y'all listen, okay? She was in a meeting. I'm trying to sanitize it all. She was in a meeting and somebody made a comment about her colleague who was out on maternity leave. This individual who was female, the colleague who was out on maternity leave obviously was female, but the person who was speaking was male. And he got up speaking for her. So he was taking her place. And he said, "Oh, Lord, I cannot wait till this woman comes back from maternity leave because she's got to breastfeed." Get some of that. Yeah. There are seasons and times when you are in environments where being female feels like it's a badge of dishonor. So how do you navigate that? Okay. When it comes to walking in environments where it's obvious that you are female, listen to me. You have to know who you are. One of the reasons why we are starting the month of March in Vision Casters Academy talking about understanding the power of your own story is that if you do not understand your own story, the parts of your story that are great and the parts of your story that are not great, you will walk around with your story on your shoulders. Somebody's going to get that in a minute. If you do not understand the power of knowing your own story, you will walk around with your story on your shoulders. Here's the other thing you'll do. You won't do the work. If you don't know the power of your own story, if you don't understand how you are made and the fact that how you are made and how you are designed is a gift from God. Psalm 139 says this, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and your works are wonderful." If you are doubting who you are or how you are, whether you're at home, whether you are building a billion-dollar business, whether you are leading a community initiative and you're feeling some kind of way about maybe being the only female or wearing bright colors or, wearing yellow nail polish in the boardroom, whatever. Can I just tell you something? You are wonderfully and fearfully made. You have to anchor yourself in that. In any environment that you go in, you have to anchor yourself in who God says you are. But listen to me, if you walk into environments and you have not anchored yourself in what God says you are, you will look to the left and the right and everything else that society is saying. And that's why I say, I'm not here for all them arguments, y'all. I'm not going into all of those arguments because I understand who I am and who I've been created to be. That's already been settled and already defined. I don't need anybody else to do it for me. I mean, think about it. Society says today, oh, no. You can't wear that. That's last year's fashion. And then you scramble and you change everything around and you wear something that doesn't fit your body type or whatever that is. And then they switch it on you. Or then they say, well, long hair is in. Long hair is in, I heard. And let's not talk about the hair debate. Let's not talk about that. Okay. There's this amazing piece of legislation that got introduced called the Dove Act. I think that's right. The Dove Act, right? Where women of color have been struggling to show up as their authentic self with their hair, right? Braids are in, braids are not in. Now it's locks. Now it's this. Now it's that. The Crown Act. Thank you. The Crown Act. It's all of these things. If you are not anchored in who God says you are when you go into these environments, the boardroom, community forums, all of those sorts of things, friend, you will always be thrown to and fro. You will always feel insecure. If you are not anchored in who God says you are, you will walk into that difficult conversation and you will feel your knees knocking for the wrong reasons. I got another story. Years ago, I worked for an incredible company. I was head of HR, and there was one guy on the sales team who was a rainmaker. I mean, this man brought in millions upon millions of dollars all the time on a regular basis and had been doing it for the 15 years prior to me getting there. Okay. Y'all, I'm not making this up. These are real stories and you have them too. Drop them in the chat, like remove the names, but tell us about that experience that you had that caused you that weak in the knees feeling. Anyway, this guy was a force to be reckoned with. And he was also a jerk. An employee went on a business trip with him. A female employee went on a business trip with him. She was the only female. Excuse me, I got something in my eye. And he did something that was highly inappropriate. Like anybody in their right mind, kind of inappropriate. Like, what were you thinking? Inappropriate. And yes, Denise, you know where I'm going. And I know you got stories. Anyway, she was mortified. Also a top producer in a different area, but she kept it. She held on to it for the longest time. She held on to that experience months after. Finally, she came forward. She ended up in my office. There was an investigation. Y'all know where I'm going with this. It was not pretty. But she was so deeply bothered by this as a female leader. And it's almost like it triggered something deep within her. Y'all, there are real experiences where we experience things and we hold on to those things. So understand in this conversation today, this is not about ignoring things or sweeping things under the rug. And y'all know me better than that, right? What I'm talking about is approaching things from the perspective that what may be happening to us is the opposite of where we are going as a company, as an organization, as a family, and what God is calling us to do. We absolutely have things that are unique and special about us as women. What I'm really pulling us towards is we need to be able to do the work and get the healing that we need and then get back into the game. I am so thrilled to share that this young woman, although this was incredibly difficult, was willing to take the journey with me, right? We did the investigation, we did all of those things. We got her the help that she needed, and she got back into the game. It took her some time, but she got back into the game. I can't tell you how many times I have seen women, vision-driven women, women who were talented and gifted, who just buckled under the weight of whatever it was they were experiencing. I just want to encourage you today that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And when you go into those places and spaces where you may be the only female, or you may be the only person of color, or you may be the only this or that or the other, I want to encourage you that your identity can't come from the circumstances around you. Because if you let them define who you are, if you let those limiting beliefs shape how you show up, you will miss what God has called you to do. Anybody? Is this helping? I mean, we've got to talk about this. Women's History Month did not come about because there were women who were playing small. Have you seen that that meme that says that oh, I forget how it goes now. It says something about, history wasn't made by women who were playing small. Did you know that? History wasn't made by women who were staying in a little box, whatever box they were in. Who do you know who made history in your own life? I'm not talking about who you see on the magazine covers. Everyone in here on this chat today, you know somebody who made history. Go and ask them. Go and ask a woman who has made history, who has done something important, who has moved the needle or made a major contribution. They didn't do it because they were in their comfort zone. Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe it's just me. Okay, so how do you then know what to develop if you are going into these environments and maybe you're just in that environment where it just feels hard, right? It feels like being female is a badge of dishonor. A couple of things. Number one, resist the temptation to believe those things that don't line up with who God says you are. Well, wait, how do I do that? You got to know what God says about you. You have to understand how he made you. When you understand that, when you meditate on that, when you get it in your soul, friend, there's nothing you can't do. You remember that conversation with that individual who was like, he was a moneymaker. The entire business, the entire leadership team, everybody was tolerating what he was putting out because nobody challenged him. And then here I come. Recognizing that not only was he offending that important employee, he was important, but she was important too. So here I come, and an investigation, attorneys, the board was involved, the whole nine. So I am charged, being the head of HR, with the one sitting down, having the conversation with him to censure him. And you know what he did? He sat in his chair and he kind of leaned back to the side. And he was like, I know why we're here, and I'm just not having this. Now, sitting there, I could have buckled. I could have hesitated. But when you are connected with what God has called you to do, when you understand the unique gifts and talents that you have as a female, as a leader, as a specialist, as all of those things, let me tell you something. You will walk into a room and not necessarily be qualified. In fact, unqualified, And you may be what I call the unexpected. And I was certainly all of those things. But you know what? I told him exactly what he needed to know. I looked him in the eye and I didn't flinch. I sat forward in my chair and leaned to the side just like he did. And I told him exactly what he needed to know. Do you know what happened? In that moment, his shoulders relaxed and he sat back and sat up. He then leaned forward and had tears in his eyes. Friend, when you understand how God made you as a woman, you will use it as a strategic tool, not as a weapon. In that moment, I was able to use my gift of influence, my gift of discernment. I was able to use my skills. Come on. I was able to use my skills. My skills are not male or female. They just skills. Okay. But I was able to disarm him in that moment, thinking that he could roll on me like that. And then I was able to bring the noise. Okay. All I'm saying is, who you are as a woman is exactly who God needed you to be. There are so many beautiful attributes that we have that are not necessarily one or the other. Remember, I was a tomboy till I was 15. I didn't meet any kind of the social norms. I remember the ladies at church looking at me like I had 3 heads and judging my mama because she hadn't raised me right or whatever. Friend, if you get wrapped up into who the world says you are, you will get completely off track of what you are called to do. I love Jesus. I can praise and I can do all of those things. I can host a party. I can put on my stilettos and do all of those things. I can also put on my boots, go out into the forest and make a fire. Okay. I can also carry my babies across the finish line if I need to. This idea that we have where we're holding on to everything that the world says, but we're not actually doing what it is God called us to do because we're believing some sort of limited mindset about what we are supposed to be doing. Think about the women in the world who have literally changed the world for the better, who stepped outside of their comfort zone. Okay, I need you to put in the chat, who do you know in your circle, in your family, in your company, in your church, who has done something amazing and not gotten stuck in this environment of, staying within the lines? Put it in the chat. Who do you know in your family, in your community, in your church, wherever it is, who has done something amazing, who got outside of kind of those limiting beliefs? Friend, this is not about being inappropriate. Okay, let's keep going. How do you develop and understand how to use who you are as a vision-driven woman? You have to understand how to know your audience. Come on. You have to understand how to know your audience. Now, I have gone into environments, I can't tell you how many times, where I was the only whatever. And I could have said, oh, no, I'm going to just be me. I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. But here's what happens when you do that, when you don't know your audience and you don't understand the power of journey. Come on, you lose the ability to have influence. How many of you know people that have completely blown their shot because they were so focused on giving somebody what was left of their mind or whatever? How many of you know somebody that blew their shot because they didn't understand the audience? They didn't pay attention to the environment around them. Listen, if you're going to rock your vision in the areas that God has called you, you have to understand audience. There may be a time when who you are as a woman matters. And then there's going to be a time when who you are as a woman don't. That was not proper English, but I'm just saying. But sometimes you can look at an environment and need to look beyond what your immediate agenda is. Y'all, this is vision-driven leadership. Like this is like vision-driven leadership 101. If you're in the wrong class, just drop right now. Otherwise, Share it with 10 of your friends, because sometimes I think we get so focused on the wrong thing. It's that cause thing, right? It's I'm a lead from a place of having my story, my gender, whatever, right here on my shoulders, and we miss the opportunity. We lose our shot. How many of you know women that have gone into environments and you've just watched them and they have navigated an environment so seamlessly and strategically? And then when it mattered, when they actually had a seat at the table, then they brought the noise. Then they brought the topic. Then they introduced the idea. Friend, if you are that woman who has been through so much and you are disconnected from your story, you don't understand how to heal those parts of your story maybe that get in the way, right? How do you know if you're that woman who is using being a woman as a weapon? You might be saying things like, well, if I was a man, or my daddy did that to me too, or anything like that. I want to invite you to join us in Vision Casters Academy. I want to invite you to Vision Casters Academy. In the month of March, we are focused solely on the topic of understanding the power of your own story. So let me get a little personal as I get ready to wrap up. Years ago, when I first went into private practice, I was that woman. Can I just be honest with you? I was that woman. I had all kinds of stuff that hadn't been healed. Y'all know some of the story, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But I was all dressed up on the outside. I had the job. I had the husband. I had the family. I had all of those things. But there were pieces of my story that I had not healed. I had used work as a Band-Aid to cover up the things in my heart that had happened to me in my life that I had never healed. I was that ambitious, vision-driven, ambitious woman going after it. I was quoting scriptures and doing all of those things, but I had not healed. And how it showed up is that I would go into environments and I would work so hard. I would work so hard and work harder and work harder and work harder. And I would succeed. But when things got tough, when they got tight, when things began to fall apart, when my relationships got strained, I went to that place of accusation and carrying that story on my shoulders. So it didn't matter if I was dealing with somebody in the boardroom or dealing with my husband or dealing with my kids. I would pow, pow, pow. I would use that story sitting on my shoulders as a weapon. So let me just say this to you. If you are that female leader and you are trying to go to the next level, but you feel like something's blocking you, right? Like things just feel hard, or your relationships get strained, or you see things bubbling up over and over again, that's another way to know what to develop. What are you hearing over and over and over again? Maybe it really gets on your nerves and you're like, if I hear that one more time, friend, that's an indicator. It's an invitation. I need you, instead of approaching what you're hearing from a place of fear, I need you to hear it from a place of curiosity and ask the question, ask the Holy Spirit, what is it I'm supposed to learn from that? What is it that I need to see that may be getting in my way? Friend, when I started approaching my own growth and development from that perspective, my leadership leveled up. I mean, incrementally leveled up, because then I got focused on understanding what I was hearing. And instead of responding or reacting to things, I responded. Instead of reacting with this explosive defensiveness, like, oh, hold on a second, you can't touch my story. This is my story. It's my story to tell. It's your story to tell, but it's also your story to heal. I'm just telling you, from a girl who did the work, it will completely transform how you show up in your work, in your business. It will completely transform how you relate to people, how you engage with your clients. It will give you a different lens from which to see what it is you have to do as a vision-driven woman. Listen, acting like a lady, it's not even about that. It's about acting like the leader that God has called you to be. There's a money shot, y'all. It's about stepping fully into what God is calling you to do. When you do that, Being a woman will be a part of your story. It won't be the whole story. You are not a one-dimensional leader. I'm just saying. Okay. 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 A few more things and then I'm done. Use your gifts and talents and attributes for good. Can I just say that to you? Use them for good. Okay. There's so much debate now about, what really is a woman? What are the characteristics of a woman? There are attributes that are unique to women, but you and I both know people who don't act anything like that, buttoned up lady who sits quietly, who never raises her hand or speaks out of turn. Once upon a time, that used to be the profile of a good Christian woman. But we know plenty of people. Maybe we need to do a Bible study on that. I don't know. Anyway, we know plenty of women in scripture throughout the world who didn't fit that mold. And they did what God called them to do. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying go out and be a renegade for the sake of being a renegade. I'm saying connect with who God says you are. Okay. And let's talk about this. Let's just go here for a quick minute. If you are looking at somebody else and you're saying, "Oh my goodness, I wish I was like that. I wish I was like Karen. I wish I was like Sally. I wish I was like my boss or my pastor. I wish I was wish. Listen to this. James 3:16 says, "For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice." Jealousy and comparison are not your friend. They will distract you. The enemy will use that to distract you off of who you are and how you are designed to be. If you have a sense of humor, allow God to mold that. You will be more effective. You will be able to have influence in places that you never thought you would end up being. When I first got started in private practice and I was speaking, doing a lot of speaking, I was comparing myself to everybody else I saw. And I was trying to emulate them. And you know how that came out? Not good. I was trying to be everybody else. I was trying to have the ha 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 and tell the jokes and all that sort of thing. And it just bombed. And then I was trying to do the very educated, clinical research and da-da-da-da-da. Y'all, I'm not that person. If you're looking for that, do not call me to come speak to your group. Okay? I'm not that person. My gifts are inspiration, encouragement, and equipping. Those are my gifts. So when I started stepping into that and letting go of being jealous of somebody else, my business took off. I was starting to do work that I loved, that I was passionate about. But you have to be clear about that. One of the things that we do in Vision Casters Academy is help entrepreneurs do just that. We also help those who are in the workplace do just that, to own who you are and how you are. I'm off track again. So, what else? I promise I'm almost done. Whew, that was a lot. I want this community, when we step into the environments where God has called us, I want us to understand that vision is not one-dimensional. It is not about listening to all of the things that the world says we have to be doing. Because if we're doing that, guys, we're not making progress on our own terms. We're making progress in a way that's chaotic. And you remember the scripture I read earlier that talks about what happens, what drives chaos. When you understand who you are, how God created you, what it is you are uniquely gifted to do, I promise you will start to rock your vision in a way that will blow your mind. If you had told me 10 years ago when I started in private practice that I would be building a vision I love, doing work I love, I would have just laughed you. I just would have laughed you out of the room. The reality is you have more options than you realize when it comes to being a woman, a vision-driven woman. I hope that you will take some of the tidbits that you got today and start being curious, not from a place of fear, but from a place of understanding, God, what is it you really need me to learn about myself? And how can I take how you've made me and build on it? How can I do the work? How can I get the help that I need? How can I join a community of other vision-driven leaders? Listen, Vision Casters Academy is open for registration. We are extending the registration because we want to give more of you an opportunity to join us. These are the monthly cohorts where we go deep, where you can ask questions, where you can get your own vision audit, where we do hot seat coaching, where we have productive conversations with other vision-driven leaders about the journey of vision. Listen, vision is not just something, you magically get to. There's a journey along the way. Find the community, the tools and the resources and the inspiration that you need. John has dropped the link to Vision Casters Academy in the comments. I hope you'll join us. This has been such an incredible conversation. Thank you to all of you that joined us. I hope this was helpful to you. Go and find this Women's History Month. Go and find somebody who has pushed the needle a little bit, who maybe didn't obey all of the rules, and ask her some questions. Get in there and ask some questions. What did you do? How did you keep going? All of those things. I promise you have more options than you realize when it comes to rocking your vision on your terms. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Make sure that you join us. Mark your calendars on Mondays at 8:15. We've got more great guests coming. And if you're not following us on YouTube or Instagram, come on in here. We'd love to have you. All right, everybody. Have a great week.